the first. You're the second.
Oh, the white. But I can't make the other.
Oh no, I was 16.
Is this yours?
It's mom's. One piece got broken, so I can Oh, they're all white. Miss.
Can you tell them what to do back there? Well, I'm not sure what happened with yesterday's video, but when I went to go and check on it afterwards, it looked like everything was perfectly fine like it normally is. So I don't know what happened. I think it just I think it's probably a Ustream thing. I think it probably cut out.
Well, it stopped after 7 minutes, and then it tried again for 2 minutes, and then it stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was doing that while we're all sitting here, and I figured it's probably a Ustream thing. And it could be, it could have been our internet service, but when I went back there, it looked like it was operating like it's supposed to, and I had to go turn it off and everything. So,
Like you said, it might have been a Ustream thing.
yeah, it could have been.
It probably was. Well, I couldn't keep a steady, buffer going, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Give up on it.
Just in case, I turned down the video quality to where it was before. Last week I had turned it up to, I think, 1400 kilobits. For the last couple of days I've been checking and it's working just fine, but who knows, you may get someone uploading something, and that little extra bit might affect it. So I just put back down to 1200 kilobytes for the video quality. The video quality is what takes the most when it comes to uploading stuff. The audio is not so much of a problem there. No,
there's a lot of data in video.
yeah, video has a lot of data. All right, guys. Does everybody have a KIP script?
No, my canary.
Are there any extra KIP scripts over there yet, Oil?
I don't know who this is here, but it's right on the head.
That would be.
Can you grab the other KIP scripts and pass them on to people that are actually using this?
Is there more?
No, there's ones over there that aren't being used. So why
I
don't
want one.
we pass them to people where we need them? And where is the grape juice?
Oh, I think he used all the rest of it.
Okay, so if you can pass them over to Michael and
I think we just had a little bit of grape juice.
so we're starting now, so we'll have to do what we have to do.
You'll be fine.
You can share it. Or if you want.
I don't have it here.
Yeah, I know.
I have it. And you can share a color.
You're sharing me. How about that? All right, guys. Well, let's take a moment to bless Hashem for getting into His Word here. His words He's left us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher noten Torah emet u'bsorot Yeshua le'amo Yisrael u'lechol ha'amim al yedei beino Yeshua HaMashiach Adoneinu. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel and to all the peoples, through his Son, Yeshua the Messiah, our Lord. Amen. Chaim Yeshua. All right, so we'll get right into our study here. So we are in Sefer Mazim, the book of Acts, in chapter 10. And we have a total of 48 verses, so we'll go around the room and read first, and we'll discuss it. Whoever has the last 3 verses can just read those. We are in Masim, Sefer Masim, and we are in Perek Eser, Ra, Pasuk Echad. So we are in chapter 10, verse 1. All right, verse 1. There was a man in Caesarea named Cornelius, a Roman army officer in what was called the Italian regiment. He was a devout man, a God-fearer, as was his whole household. He gave generously to help the Jewish poor and prayed regularly to God. One afternoon around 3 o'clock, he saw clearly in a vision an angel of God coming in and saying to him, "Cornelius." Cornelius stared at the angel, terrified. "What is it, sir?" he asked. "Your prayers," replied the angel, "and your acts of charity have gone up into God's presence, so that he has you on his mind. Now send some men to Yaffo to bring back a man named Shimon, also called Kepha."
He's staying with Shimon, the leather tanner, who has a house by the sea. As the angel that had spoken to him went away, Cornelius called 2 of his household slaves and one of his military aides, who was a godly man. He explained everything to them and sent them to Yaffo. The next day about noon, while they were still on their way and approaching the city, Kepha went up onto the roof of the houses to pray. He began to feel hungry and wanted something to eat, but while they were preparing the meal, he fell into a trance.
In which he saw heaven opened and something that looked like a large sheep being lowered to the ground by its 4 corners. In it were all kinds of 4-footed animals, crawling creatures, and wild birds. Then a voice came to him, "Get up, Kepha, slaughter and eat." Kepha said, "No, sir, absolutely not. I have never eaten food that was unclean or treif." The voice spoke to him a second time, "Stop treating as unclean what God has made clean."
This happened 3 times, and then the sheep was immediately taken back into heaven. Kepha was still puzzling over the meaning of the visions he had seen when the men Cornelius had sent, having inquired for Shimon's house, stood at the gate, and called out to ask if Shimon, known as Kepha, was staying there. While Kepha's mind was still on the vision, the Spirit said, 3 men are looking for you. Get up, go downstairs, and have no misgivings about going with them, because I myself have sent them."
So Kepha went down and said to the men, "You are looking for me. Here I am. What brings you here?" They answered, "Cornelius, he's an army officer, an upright man, and a God-fearer, a man highly regarded by the whole Jewish nation. And he was told by a holy angel to have you come to his house and listen to what you have to say." So Kepha invited them to be his guests. The next day he got up and went with them, accompanied by some of the brothers from Yaffo, and he arrived at Caesarea. The day after that, Cornelius was expecting him. He had already called together his relatives and close friends. As Kepha entered the house, Cornelius met him and fell prostrate at his feet.
But Kepha rolled into his feet and said, "Stand up. I myself am just a man." As he talked with him, Kepha went inside and found many people gathered. He said to them, "You are well aware that for a man who is a Jew to have close association with someone who belongs to another people, or to come and visit him, is something that just isn't done. But God has shown me not to call any person common or unclean. So when I was summoned, I came without raising any questions. Tell me then, why did you send for me?"
Cornelius answered, 3 days ago around this time I was at Mincha prayers in my house, when suddenly a man in shining clothes stood in front of me and said, God has heard your prayer and remembered your acts of charity. Now send to Yaffo and ask for Shimon, known as Kifa. He is staying in the house of Shimon, a leather tanner by the sea. So I sent for you immediately, and you have been kind enough to come. Now all of us are here in the presence of God to hear everything the Lord has ordered you to say. And Kifa addressed them. I now understand that God does not play favorites, but that whoever fears him and does what is right and acceptable to him, no matter what people he belongs to.
Here's the message that he sent to the sons of Israel, announcing Shalom through Yeshua the Messiah, who is Lord of everything. You know what has been going on throughout Yehuda, starting from the Galilee, after the immersion that Yochanan proclaimed. How God anointed Yeshua from Nazareth with the Ruach HaKodesh and with power. How Yeshua went about doing good and healing the people oppressed by the adversaries, because God was with him. As for us, you're witness of everything he did, both in the Judean countryside and in Jerusalem. They did away with him by hanging him on a stake, but God raised him up on the third day and let him to be seen, not by all the people, but by witnesses. God had previously chosen that is by us who ate and drank with him after he has risen again from the dead.
Then he commanded us to proclaim and attest to the Jewish people that this man has been appointed by God to judge the living and the dead. All the prophets bear witness to him that everyone who puts his trust in him receives forgiveness of sins through his name. Kepha was still saying these things when the Ruach HaKodesh fell on all who were hearing the message. All the believers from the circumcision fraction who had accompanied Kepha were amazed that the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh was also being poured out. Where open to 46? On the Goyim, for they heard them speaking in tongues and praising God. Kepha's response was, is anyone prepared? Oh, sorry.
Is it okay to get 2 more verses? Let's read those.
Is anyone prepared to prohibit these people from being immersed in water? After all, they have received the Ruach HaKodesh, just as we did. And he ordered that they may be immersed in the name of Yeshua the Messiah. Then they asked Kepha to stay with them a few more days.
All right. Lasim, the book of Acts chapter 10. Any thoughts, questions, or insights?
Well, it's kind of
Lots.
nice to know that God can have his mind on us.
Yeah, with
And
Cornelius.
all he had to do was acts of charity and pray. I mean, God had his mind on him. Enough to do what you've only seen happen a few times recorded in the Tanakh, to have an angel appear before you, just like that.
Right.
So, must have been quite a character, quite a fellow, this guy. He is.
What was that?
Is this in the top or?
What do you mean is it in the Tanakh?
Oh, he said it was in the
Well, in the Tanakh, I consider the
Oh,
entire
with
writings
the Acts.
to
I was
be
like,
a
is this
Tanakh.
the top? Because I was
Technically,
curious,
yeah.
with Judaism, like,
Yeah.
would they consider it? Because I was like,
Yeah,
it
why
talks
not?
about Cornelius, which
Yeah.
is, that's kind of a cool point if they did, I don't know if they do they?
Well, classically,
That's
and what's considered most of the Judaisms of today, the Tanakh is the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvei, which is understood to be the Torah, prophets, and the writings. Of course, we would extend that to the Ketuvei Shlachim, to the apostolic writings, because they most certainly are prophets as well as they give prophecies. You should read through them and recognize what Shaul is saying a lot of the time,
Right.
what Yochanan, you go on and on. So you have prophets. They're definitely writings, and it definitely is giving instructions. So yeah, we consider to a Messianic Jew or to a Messianic believer, yeah, it's definitely part of the Tanakh.
I was just curious because I wasn't sure how it all gets put
Yeah.
together and that.
But if you're talking about the previous, Nevi'im, the prophets, then we were just talking about chapter 10.
But that caught my attention too, Mikhail, the Caesarean, that he noticed him. Wow. That's
Yes,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
So God's, not just sleeping up on his kisei, on the throne, and not really caring or knowing what's going on. He very much knows, especially those who are wanting to serve him. He says his eyes search, to and fro throughout the earth to see who is strong on his behalf. And so he's looking. And so we always have to remember that whatever acts of tzedakah, we're doing, whatever acts of charity we might be doing, we always know that we do it because we're doing it for not mankind necessarily. We obviously want to show our brothers and sisters and those who are not love, and we want to show kindness to them. So there's the aspect that ultimately our number one fan is up there. That's who
We don't do it to be seen, but
that's who we're trying to please.
It's obvious that if Hashem had detected that Cornelius had selfish reasons or, reasons to gain something for himself, he wouldn't have given him that audience of the angel.
Oh,
He would not have.
right.
He wouldn't have done it like, oh yeah, we know what you're trying to get something out of this.
Right.
But as you can tell, there were many people in his household and friends who he had no problems convincing to be ready ahead of time for Keith's arrival. It's like, I'm going to send this vision. This is great. You guys, you got to be here for this. This is going to be whatever he says. We know it's going to be for God.
Yeah.
So you invite everybody that I know.
that's awesome faith too.
So Cornelius was what would we be often described as a Godführer, and this was a specific term given to someone from the nations who was learning about the God of Israel and was growing in faith and observance. You could see that he was praying at the biblical time of prayer during Mincha around 3 o'clock. He no doubt attended a synagogue and was learning the Torah. Many of these God-fearers had just stopped short of Brit Milah, circumcision. Not that they wouldn't have at some time in the future, but this is where they were in their walk and their growth. And so he was known amongst the Jewish nation, and obviously known by God. And he did have that relationship with the Jewish people, and he generously helped the Jewish poor and things of that nature.
And what did they say about him? Something about the Jewish said something about him. Jewish poor.
Or that's what I just said, that he gave generously to help the Jewish poor.
No, I know, but they had said something about him. I thought the Jewish people looked at him, right?
Well, they saw him, favorably.
Yeah, favorably. That's what I was looking for.
Right. So at any rate, so we see that there was a good amount of the nations that were moving in that direction, and he was one of them.
And then here comes Keith's dream. It's quite the dream where a lot of people get confused.
The famous dream.
Yeah.
Right.
Where people are like, oh, now we can eat unkosher food, What? No, it said something about trafe. What's trafe?
Trafe is, that's a good question. Trafe is something that would be considered unclean. So you have something that's, or something that would be even considered common, actually. You have, tameh, which is something that would be unclean. You have something that's trafe, which is something that's just, it may be something that otherwise would be clean according to Leviticus to Vayikra 11. But for example, let's just say, it was, polluted by something else, or it was torn, and then it would be considered trafe. He's staying at the house of, so in verse 5 it says, now send some men to Yaffo to bring back a man named Shimon, also called Kepha. He's staying with Shimon the Levittanner. Levitanners weren't the most popular people because they were unclean all the time, so it's interesting. You have something similar here that I think God was working off of here. or maybe kind of on Kayla's mind. Leather tanners, because they dealt with dead animals all the time, they were kind of often in an unclean state, and from what I understand, it was just had just an awful smell of the area too, because of the dead animals and the tanning that was going on. And so they weren't the most popular people. But you have this state of, this person he's staying with, they're kind of known for being unclean in that state a lot because of what they do. It's just their profession. Of course, they're necessary, but it was kind of like they weren't, again, the most popular people. So this is